It's a great honor to have an audience like this one, high achievers. This is what I can tell you is my own experience. I love mathematics. I love it because I found it to be my cocoon at the time, maybe when I was trouble on aspects that I didn't like. Mathematics always took me away to a dimension that is very unique. It's different to the rest of things that happens in what I said. Could be politics, social science, family, and so on. There are always a lot of things that interfere, but then it's mathematics, which is orthogonal to all of that, and that give us, it gave me a very fantastic way to find a spot on which I can enjoy what I do, and I not necessarily need to explain it to people that doesn't know what we do. And so, what is what we do? Okay, we do something. As you said, my mother told me once, she saw me working with one of my classmates. I was at the university, and she was standing at us. We were solving problems. And she said something that was very interesting. I never looked into that, and then I understood something about what we do. She said, you are using words that I understand each word individually, but you combine them in a way that lose meaning to me. And then we realize what we do is a language. It's really, we get very skilled to learn this language that in this room we cannot share. But maybe you cannot share with your brother or sister which are doing medicine, because it may be very different at the level we get to do it. Why do we do it? A little bit what Helge said. We like it, you like it at the beginning, but it's more than that. I think we need to be passionate about it. Mathematics, if you are going to get into mathematics, and I expect that many of you would do it, you really have to love it. And that's, you have to feel what you do is beautiful. As beautiful as can be a flower or a bird or a poem. You have to get this feeling, and don't be embarrassed. Say, so I have a beautiful proof, guys. I really like it. It's something that, and it's our expression of our passion for what we do, and I think that is my take for your age. If you really are going to embrace it fully. It has to be something that when it's like I sometimes think of what we do, a little bit of what happens with musicians, right? You may be trained for many years at the beginning. You may be young. Some of you may be already accomplished musicians and even amateurs, but may play an instrument. But I noticed that there is always this intensity that when someone starts on the piano, even they move, or the cello or the violin, the body encompasses completely what you are doing, and you should not be embarrassed. This is exactly the way we say when we do mathematics, right? I had one of my graduate students that we were finishing the proof. He was doing something with the hands. I said, "What are you doing?" Well, that was an expression of success when they were playing games as a high schooler, right? And so it has to be this great passion about it. Another thing I want to say is. Some of you are below 20, maybe some of you are 20 already, and but not much more than that. And I always think is that the stage of our lives between 20 and 30 is the most transformative. Is the time when you are going to enter your 20s. Without, if I would ask you, what are you going to do when you are 30? And I can assure you that maybe a few percentage would hit it well. But the chances that you predict what happens to you at 30 as you cross, 10 years later, that mark, is so different to what happens when we were 20. And so the choices that you're going to be doing right, are going to be probably the most important in your life, which you take, the steps that you're going to take in the next few years. And so don't be, shy. We can do mathematics. We can do great mathematics. I was even lucky to meet Luis, my husband. We never collaborated, but we're in closer areas. I do more applied mathematics, applied PDE, and now Luis Silvestre, who is a student of Luis, took a course with me, and I was very proud when you said, I realized that there were two different things. I liked them both, and that very few people were looking at both of them, and so he's becoming one of the leaders in my area as well. So this is a path of discovery. What are you going to discover? You don't know it until the problem, comes up. Another thing I like to tell my students, you start, you choose an area, you choose an advisor, you choose something that you really like you think you are going to like it, and you go for, say, a PhD. And I always like to use this word. You are going to graduate, most likely. If you have good people around you, they are going to channel you into success. And I always said, you never marry your thesis, neither your thesis advisor. You have to move on. You get a degree to be a problem solver. So you have to confront new problems and see it and so on. There is nothing more boring, from my point of view, that work 40 years on the same problem, right? And that is, mathematics is a language that enables us to connect to other sciences. And it's a tremendous need right now. And if you go into these interdisciplinary areas, that's what I would do if I would be 20 again. I'm in my 60s now. Is just do mathematics and something else as an undergraduate. And as a graduate student, even you can do that. It's becoming very common now that we co-advise with colleagues. I co-advise with colleagues from physics or with colleagues from engineering because of my interest, and even with chemistry. And students come out with completely different outcomes, theses, and I really learn from them, because I would actually said, I never was a major in chemistry, but I learned a lot through my student, because I said, well, take all these courses, pass me the notes, we discuss the notes, why was that, is important, put in our equations, and something came up that, from the chemistry point of view, may have been a sort of balance law, but no one knew if that would actually allow you to do something interesting, to say, is this a problem, is a system, you are combining things, if it is if it's a differential equation, you will need to have initial conditions, boundary conditions, and then, if that does make sense. What does it mean, the solution? What do we set? I mean, there are no solution formulas if you do interesting mathematics down the road, right? You have to come up to terms that the solution exists, and maybe it has cannot pass some value from here and from there, and maybe it's, from calculus point of view, you can differentiate it as much as you want, or maybe they say, well, you can differentiate it 3-4 times, it would be good for the purpose of making a calculation. So mathematics is going to, it should be something very dynamic that you try to do. And I took to this fantastic audience that I see it's diverged in many aspects. I come from Latin America. I actually did my undergraduate in Argentina as much as Luis Silvestre, and as much as Luis did. He comes from a city that I have cousins that live there, and he was friend of one of my nephews. It's very good. So don't ever be shy because you come from a place that is different to mainstream where you are studying. Don't be shy because of gender. That is, there is so much going on right now that, and we are limitless. I actually when I talk mathematics, I don't see race, I don't see gender, I don't see politics. Because, I notice, for instance, in Argentina, sometimes people don't talk to each other, even mathematics, because they are in different political parties. I mean, this is what I say, we're in a different dimension. And if I'm going to discuss with any of you about how to approach a particular problem, the least I care if you are pro or against a political party. It's orthogonal. All right? So this is something that some people say, oh no, but you have to think on the impact and so. Well, if you discuss impact, then you enter more into the social aspects of mathematics. But there is the language aspect, that is something that if you embrace it fully and great. And I just want to close and say that I tell my students, I teach undergraduate PDEs at UT Austin, and I always have a full class, and I get good evaluations from the students, because they have to evaluate this every time. So I care about evaluations. I do care, and I tell them, if I can put in a nutshell what is mathematics to someone that have never seen it before, or even when you enter into a class, it's a language. And I always thought, and I said, for me, it's like an Asian language. It's like Chinese. And I don't mean to diminish, because I like the Chinese structure, and I know my colleagues from China, and I know that some people is really were versed in the reading and understanding. And I went to China, and I said, oh, this is what we do. You see a symbol, maybe 3 symbols, and you cannot parse them, you cannot say anything. But a person, even when translated, it's a long sentence about it. And then I realized that they dressed the concepts of the words and things what they do around it. They don't do it like the Latin language or would follow the Arabic, which was to write it longwise and passing into lines, or the other way around, right? Or even the Japanese that go this way. The Chinese go check, 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 check. That's what we do. This is exactly what we do. You do calculus and you see it, right? And so our brain, it gets to be trained in this language that you see the symbols and we can speak about it. We may use English, Norwegian, Spanish, or Italian, but when we lay down, we all agree on that. It's actually quite interesting, and then it has a second component. You need to practice about it a little bit, right? If there are exercises, the techniques until you really grasp it and catch it, and so on. And I really close by saying, I love teaching. I love my audience. And for me, teaching is oxygen. I cannot live without it. And so you can be great mathematicians and great teachers at the same time. And don't, ever abandon your dreams, wherever they are, wherever they lie, okay? That's the way of success. Okay.